Hello, hello, welcome to Breaking Barriers. And today we will discuss chapter 5 Specialized Knowledge. Hi, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
Great, great. I'm excited to speak about this next chapter to help our listeners to learn the fourth principles and secret of success. As it
Me
is
too.
here, the fourth steps toward riches.
And I always catch myself with this book saying, "Okay, this is the most important chapter." Oh no, not this is the most important chapter. And it's kind of like for people who have children. It's like, "Oh, which one of your children do you like the best?" Well, I don't have a favorite, or I shouldn't. I don't think, but they're all different. They're all important. They're all part of the family. They're all, that's how these chapters are. But this is the fourth step towards riches, like you said, and I I would be remiss if I didn't say you got to remember the steps, right? The first step, the second step can't happen without the first step. The first step is the burning desire. We made a big deal about that. We understand the importance of that. We probably, for those people who are reading it for the first time, they've reframed their whole definition of what a burning desire is and how important it is in your setup. But we also talked about the faith, and I bet you we introduced some people to autosuggestion and how powerful that is. But now this chapter talks about specialized knowledge, and this is kind of the importance of organized knowledge. Uh, but the specified knowledge is what you need to achieve success, and it's different from like general knowledge, right? And only you can't monetize general knowledge. That's why it's kind of a. And if you heard the phrase, "She's a jack of all trades, but a master of none." Means you know how to kind of do a lot of things, but you're not an expert at any. Unless you're an expert or unless your knowledge is really deep, it's hard to monetize that expertise. It's hard to monetize that knowledge when it's general because it's not. The only way to distinguish it from everybody else would be some really slick and clever marketing. You can't really monetize general knowledge, and that's the whole point of this chapter. And it's deep, it's important. I want to say it's my favorite, but I'm resisting that because I have multiple favorites, and by definition that makes no sense. But that's kind of where I stand on this chapter. It's just as important as the others, but I really believe the order is what matters. This is the fourth step. It not the third, not the fifth. It's the fourth step, and it's important.
Yes, and here we will speak about attitude towards knowledge. We heard that knowledge is the power. But when we look through the concept of this book and this chapter, we will understand that specialized knowledge is the power. And specialized knowledge is that knowledge which is aligned at what is needed for us to achieve our big goal. Because everything we do in the course of the study of these chapters is aligned with the goal. It is comes from the goal. That's why the first two chapters are so important. Desire, when you identify what you really want, and every step where we go through different chapters in this book, we will look through the prism of that goal achieved. And here, when we speak about specialized knowledge, we will speak about knowledge which we need to achieve our goal.
Exactly. And anyone, if you know anyone that has a true passion or a true obvious passion, like a hobby, maybe photography or art or dancing, there was a time when they didn't have enough experience or knowledge or ability because they didn't know how to dance yet, or they didn't know how to paint yet, or they didn't know how to do what their passion was. They had to acquire the basic skill sets. You can't become a successful artist that monetize sales of paintings if you don't learn how to master the brush or the pen or the tools. Um, we all have general knowledge. You see, you know, first graders finger painting and drawing picture, stick figures with the sun. They're learning how to use those tools. That's kind of like general knowledge, and that, he explains, is potential power. The specialized knowledge, where you go take an art class and you get constructive criticism, and unlike your mom, they're saying it's not beautiful, do it again, do it better, get better, and then you start developing specialized knowledge. You start standing out in your ability to do one thing from better or more efficiently than other people. And that specialized knowledge is the key that we're talking about here. That's the fourth step.
Yes, because there is so much knowledge, and when you just go after collecting knowledge, it will not get you anywhere because we don't do what we know. Our conscious mind is different from subconscious mind, and conscious mind is part of our mind which collects the information. This is where our thinking is, how where our logic is. But what we do is dictated by our subconscious mind. So our habits and implementation, what we go through every day, can be very different from what we know. There is a huge gap, and we have to align our conscious mind and subconscious mind, so that knowledge which we get, specialized knowledge which we really need in order to achieve our goal, will be aligned with our actions. And this is how implementation is important, because we have to learn something, not much, but just little bit what we need every day to make that step, and start aligning our habits and actions with this information which we receive.
Right. And like general knowledge is potential power and specialized knowledge is power, but success is when you apply that specialized knowledge. If you are an expert at something and no one knows you are, and you're not visibly displaying that talent, gift, or specialized knowledge, well, you're not going to see any success. You have to apply the knowledge. So the knowledge can't be general; it's got to be next level. And everybody has that. Everybody, your interest pushes you to things, whether it's a particular subject at school, whether it's an activity, whatever it is. Something is drawing you and getting a disproportionate amount of your attention, and you're developing specialized knowledge. But if you don't apply it, there's no success. You have to monetize it, but you can't monetize general knowledge. That's not valuable. You what's this secret to success here is specialized knowledge that is applied. So there is kind of a second step to it.
Yes, and also you don't need even to have all specialized knowledge yourself. You can see who you can work with, who you can find, who can have the knowledge which you need. So you can focus on those results, productive actions, those results which you want to have, and what you can do. If you owner of business, you're entrepreneur, you know what is your strength, and you focus on doing that, and you leverage other things. You leverage other things, and also you find people for your team to who can complete you, yeah, who can do something that you don't like to do, or something that you are not good at, and you know that if you want to go and acquire that knowledge, it will take you so much time, and it will not be time efficient. So you better focus on what you want to do, what you can only do, and let other people to do the rest, and get the people who have necessary information, necessary knowledge, so all together you can work as a powerful team.
Well, like you, in the outside the book club real world, I work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and a lot of what I do is works around mindset. And as I was reading this chapter in preparation for this call, I realized that this is the root of something that I do that often meets resistance when I'm speaking to small business owners. They're in a business, whatever particular business they started. It usually started out of some specialized knowledge that they were applying, right? They They knew how to repair automobiles that got in wrecks, and they were really good at it. So they opened a auto repair shop. But when you're talking to someone and their goal is to grow and to expand and to, really exponentially create more wealth for themselves, the advice that I give them that almost all of them are resistant to is, when you grow, you have to hire people. And everyone's instinctive hire is to hire somebody inexpensive that they can train to do it their way. And while there is the benefit of them not having any bad habits when you hire them, I suggest, I don't care how good you are at what you do, somebody's better. There is somebody better than you. You can't be, you need to be striving to be the best. The second you think you're the best, that's when you fail. You always have to try to be improving yourself. But if you're trying to grow a business, you need to only hire people who are smarter than you, have more experience than you, more education, somebody above you. And that's the opposite of what people target. Now, sometimes you can't find someone better than you or you can't afford them. So you settle for someone just as good as you, because you don't end up having to take time out of your growth process to get them trained. You just might have to show them some specifics, but this applies in business. And the root of my tactic of recommending and almost enforcing that is this chapter. You need to be able to delegate. You can't delegate if you don't trust. You don't trust if people don't have at least the same specialized knowledge as you. And that's why growth can be slow when you're the mindset of a business owner is, I'm the best person for every job in my company. And the way to overcome that is specialize your knowledge and learn to be able to, don't be afraid to delegate, and don't be intimidated by people who might have more than you, because that's an asset, not a liability.
Yes, and if you invite people who know more for you, it will be only plus because they bring their knowledge expertise to grow your business. Yes,
Yeah, and it's really an ego thing, and the ego will mess you up here. No, be humble. Say, you know more about this than me. I would love to collaborate as your employer or as your partner or whatever, because this is how I grow. The second I stop learning stuff, I believe that's the second I start forgetting stuff. I want to always be learning and growing and getting better and improving, because I don't care how much you think you know, somebody knows more.
yes. So it is very important to grow and put time for your education, self development. Yes, so because when you learn, you become more valuable person. Yes, everyone of course is valuable person, but when you learn, you grow, you know more, you can share with people, you can do more, so you uh, increase that value. Yeah, value as a person who can give something to the world. And you shouldn't look for so many things, because if you just go to learn so many things and don't implement any of them, it is will just waste of time. And let's speak about here the example of Henry Ford. How
Right, and
he,
I'm on record. I've said it before. I would love to see a remake of this book that used examples that were more contemporary. But these were Thomas Edison too. Henry Ford was one of the biggest innovators in the 20th century. I mean, he changed the world, but he also amassed a fortune, changed a whole region of the United States with the automotive industry that was nothing like it became because of him.
and there is a good lesson which we can learn from his attitude towards general knowledge.
Well, it's the specialized knowledge. It's the applying it, and he also expands the example of calling to mind your personal experiences. There's some people, I know people who have just keep getting degrees and degrees, and they're published experts on things, but they've never actually done anything. They've never, tried to start a business and had it fail. How much do you learn? I mean, what an intense learning experience. If you've ever started a business and it failed, that that learning experience is something they don't teach in school. Henry Ford had a lot of experiences. He was taking a practical approach to making everyone have access to something that only the wealthy did.
Yes, and he has attitude, his attitude towards the knowledge. And there was situation when he was accused in being illiterate and ignorant. And he stand in the court, and the judge was asking him questions about general knowledge, when war started, or how many soldiers came back from any battle, or other different questions. And he answered that there obviously less soldiers came back from who left. Yeah, so he answered in this way, and then he decided to be more straightforward later. And he said that I can just press the button in my on my table, and I can have access to any knowledge which will come from people who I work with. So any answer to the questions can be delivered to me within few minutes. So why I have to have that knowledge when I am doing what I'm doing, and when I'm focusing on what I have to do, and knowledge which I have to achieve my goals. Yeah, so this is a great attitude, because if we just go for knowledge and think that we have to know everything in the world, the life is too short for that. Yes, we have to know exactly what we want to do, where we want to be, and what knowledge and which people we want to have in our mastermind group, that we can all together get the answers to the questions which are important for us to achieve our goals.
Right. And the life experiences are what's valuable. In fact, there's a whole chapter on masterminds, but I was of the opinion, if you're building a mastermind, you're putting together kind of a thought team, to create growth or whatever goal. When there are two people in the group who are exactly the same, one of them is redundant. You can't learn anything from yourself. I can't learn anything from me. If I were to show, I love myself, but if I showed up at a party and the party was full of me, just me, and it was like 20 Pauls in the room, that would be terrifying, first of all. But I wouldn't, I couldn't gain anything out of those interactions. The personal experiences are all the same. The specialized knowledge is all the same. The thought process is all the same, and that's what kind of is stale in academia, and that's why you find a lot of the wildly successful people don't necessarily have advanced terminal degrees. They don't necessarily have decades of higher learning and fancy titles, but they have some real world experiences. And think about what he was saying in the 1930s about, I don't need to be an expert at anything, I can find anything. What would he think about today, where we have Google and ChatGPT, and you don't need 4 years experience at an auto mechanic shop now to change an engine in a car, because there's a YouTube video and you can just do it. Just follow the instructions for free. That's what's available today. And I think too many people get hung up, and this slows down their growth, and it's a barrier to riches. Specialized knowledge, what you have inside you, what you experienced and what you did and what that's your value. And that's where you need to be focusing your attention, and figure out how to connect what backwards, and reverse engineer this whole process. Here, take what you know, how is it related to your burning desire? Once you make that connection, then how will you improve the faith that this can work? And then you just follow the steps. But it's it's the specialized knowledge. It's not what you think it is. It's just because I have a PhD in auto mechanics doesn't mean I'm a better mechanic than the guy that does it out of his house. He may be a better solution for my problem than the person with um, all the general knowledge or all the attained knowledge, not experienced knowledge. And Ford's Ford's attitude at the time, and what's interesting about this book is Ford had a very controversial life after this book. He was an innovator. He was on top of his game in the 1930s. But competition and the whole world changed after. And, it would be interesting to have an update on him through this same lens today. But what would Henry Ford think about having a cell phone that could show you how to do any task you needed to do without having to go to school, without having to read a book, without having to do anything? It's no, you don't have to invest the way you used to. And that was true 100 years ago. And it'll probably be more true 100 years from now.
Yes, yes, it is always true. And more time passes by, it becomes even more evident. So, that time when he spoke about this in the court, maybe some people couldn't get it exactly, but now we can see it. Yeah, so focus your time and your intention on what you want to be, who you want to become in order to achieve your goal. Because, as we said before, you dwell now in certain frequency with all your knowledge, and how you act, it creates your reality. And if you just continue to collect digital knowledge, nothing will happen. You have to specifically know where you want to be. This is why we set that desire, and we read it every day, and we impress it on our mind, because we have to become that person already in our mind, and start thinking and feeling and acting as that person. And in this journey, you will know what you have to know, yes, what you have to learn. And a lot of things will be related to your personal growth, because when you grow and get to the higher frequency, you will start attracting to yourself people who you need on the way to achieve your goal. So focus on yourself, and you will know exactly what knowledge and what steps you have to go, one step at a time.
Right. Napoleon Hill's success came as a direct result of all the interviews he conducted for this book, right? And I'm a firm believer, if you spend most of your time with five brilliant people, you will become the sixth. Conversely, if you spend most of your time with five morons, you will become the sixth. You become a reflection of what you're doing. So value that real life experience, because some people, and I mean, I use the example of academia, but sometimes you get so lost in the pursuit of academics that you might look down on someone that doesn't have as much schooling or education as you do, and maybe you can't learn anything from them, and you could only teach them things, and the opposite is true. I mean, I'm not one of those people that thinks you should not go to school and not go to college because all the rich people didn't go to college. No, college is valuable. It's any kind of attained knowledge is valuable, but there's not a lot of success stories that started with I got a degree, then I got another degree, then I got another degree, then I got another degree, and next thing you know, it's time for me to retire because I'm still in college. You stop taking classes and start teaching them. Like you get lost in that track, and you don't experience what people call the real world. Specialized knowledge is a balance of technical stuff, but it's also the experience. That's you can't get 10 years experience on a job in 6 months. You could learn everything the job does in 6 months easily, probably, but you can't get 10 years experience in less than 10 years. You've done something for the last 10 years. What was it? What was valuable about that? What do you know that maybe other people who didn't have that same experience? And then how does that relate to your burning desire? How does that relate to faith? How is that something you could monetize? That's the lesson. That's the lesson I got out of this chapter.
Yes, and you never can learn how to drive by reading book and get the knowledge about driving, or you cannot never learn how to swim. Just if you even sit all days and watching other people swimming, you have knowledge, you can know exactly, you can read the book how to move hands, how to move legs, but you will never be a great swimmer. So
Right.
the implement speed of implementation is very important. When you learn something and implement, and this is how you will learn, by practicing, by bringing the knowledge into action. And this is how the knowledge become power, when it is implemented, and then you can learn from your experience, and when you go to learn the next step, it will be laying like next layer that you will know, and when you will be ready to receive it. Because we are conditioned from school, we are conditioned just to receive information, learn information, repeat information, and then we will get in marks. But it doesn't work, because so many people are working like encyclopedias. You can ask them any question and they will tell you, but when it comes to life, they're totally helpless. They don't know how to live, how to solve problems, how to manage themselves.
And
Yes, so
what benefit is all that knowledge and all that memorized data? Because we don't need to memorize it, because the technology is such that if I've got a question, I can literally get a correct answer in a second, an absolute second. My mom was a teacher and she hates this phrase. She hates it, but there's a lot of truth in this phrase. I hear it all the time. Those who can't do teach. And there's some truth to that. Like champion world class chess champions don't write books about how to be good at chess. They would give away their secrets. They would not be, they would have no more leverage. The people who are writing books at chess, they're all the people that came out second and third place. The champions, the real top success in that arena, they're not teaching. They probably can't. They're they're they got better at chess because they played a million chess games and learned each time. And you learn when you learn so much differently than doing. I've I don't want to mess up the statistics, but there is some statistics here, and there's probably a study that I could research. But I think when someone tells us how to do something, we might retain 10% of it. When someone shows us how to do it, we might retain 30% of it. When someone makes us do it ourselves, we might retain 60% of it. But when we have to teach someone else how to do it or show someone else how to do it, that's when we get it. That's when we get 100%. So yeah, you can read a book on how to do something. Someone can show you in person, and your knowledge is improving each time. But until you can show someone else how to do it, you don't have that knowledge, and you can't get that knowledge without doing it yourself.
yeah, so focus on your goal. Again, when we wake up every morning, we start our day with reading our goal. We connect with our desire, and we also finish the day with our goal. So during the day, focus on the implementation speed. What you have to do every day, those steps that you have to do, and focus only on knowledge that you need to achieve your goal, and let other people to do the rest. Yes, leverage ChatGPT, Google, everything now available, and don't think that you need much knowledge. In many cases, people have enough knowledge already to be so more ahead when they are. So the problem is not having knowledge. The problem is mostly not using what you already know. So before you start looking for any extra knowledge, you think what you already have and start implementing what you already know. Because, as we said before, there is a huge gap between knowing and doing. So, start creating habits to do what you already know, to do what you already decided, to do what you already said yourself that this is my 6 steps for today, which are non negotiable.
Right. And that's one of the little sneaky little psychological benefits of autosuggestion, because I mean, Hill really stresses the importance of organization and direction, having a plan, having a strategy. Well, if you're doing autosuggestion correctly, and you are stating out loud your statement in the morning, Do you make that statement and then go back to sleep? No. That you've started a process. You're creating a habit. If you do something at 6 in the morning, you're probably going to do way more between 6 and 7 than you would have done if you slept to 7. So organization, direction, knowledge needs to be organized, and it needs to be directed through practical plans. And when you start to have habits that create that schedule, um, combined with, and he talks about this, creating definite plans and putting them into action. Um, Without the plan and action, which really comes from habits, knowledge can be dormant and unproductive. You got to put it into action. You got to plan to do that, and you got to be intentional about doing that. So it's not just about acquiring the knowledge; it's also about being tactical and intentionally applying it in some way. Don't let that skill get dull. You keep it sharp. Things change. Update yourself on new technologies, or update yourself on you know what some others are doing. If you're always learning, I feel like you're either growing or shrinking. As soon as you stop learning, you start forgetting, and that's when your skills get dull.
Yes, and also remember that 20% of what you do create you 80% of results. So
Yes.
find those 20%, just don't focus on knowledge, focus on finding those 20% and do less. Do less, remove things which are not productive actions from your daily life, and focus on those 20% which are the most result productive actions. And you can always find knowledge if you need it, but focus on implementation, because implementation is power, and this is what will bring you to your goal. When
Yeah.
you wake every day up and you know every day what you will do, and you focus on those actions, and you celebrate your wins every day.
I also like the fact when he brings this up, which is first time I read it, I thought it was a little controversial. Like the first time I read this book, I wanted to argue with Napoleon about certain things, and then the second time I read it, I was maturing, and. But the Sixth Sense, right? He talks about this quite a bit, but the concept, it's like this creative imagination that we have, something that schools for 100 years have been really trying to push people to do. Push people towards creative, but their charge was really make sure all these kids know how to read, make sure all these kids know how to do arithmetic, make sure all these kids know how to write, and you've got to educate them. There's no charge to make sure these kids know how to sing and dance and paint and get into a creative space.
Mhm.
But that imagination, or that creative imagination, that is a source of valuable knowledge. There's a lot of trial and error that comes out of dancing, that comes out of painting, that comes out of writing. And if you know someone that's a accomplished writer, go look at the first thing they ever wrote. They're probably ashamed of it. They probably can't. They can't. They because they grew as they did it. The experience shows, but in the Sixth Sense, you can access higher levels of knowledge and inspiration than you think you have. There's more going on in your brain. We use maybe 10% of our brain, but there's more. There's things that you are not aware of that get unlocked when you're being creative in some way. And the Sixth Sense, in Hill's definition, it's this. It's a source of valuable knowledge that comes only from creative imagination. And I thought it was a nice kind of closure to this chapter, because it's not something a lot of people talk about, especially in academia.
Yes, and this is exactly the title of the next chapter of Think and Grow Rich, that is called Imagination, and this is what we will speak in the next week.
I can't wait.
So today we have a homework, and this homework is to think about what you already know. Think about what you already know and see what you already can implement, and what one habit you want to create. out of everything you know, what will be one habit which you already know that you will start doing every day and it will be getting you closer to your goal? Think about this and write that one habit and start implementing it today. Because again, knowledge is not what we do, knowledge is what we know, but results are built with our actions. So it is important to pick up one new habit which you know you have to do and you didn't do before and create this non negotiable. And after you make one habit which is new for you and it will become more uncomfortable not to do it, it will mean that this became already your habitual behavior which you don't need to spend your resource and energy. You will do it automatically, and then only you will pick up the second habit. So this is how we will work on our habits one at a time, because we cannot change ourselves in a day or in a week. This is the process which takes time, but it needs our efforts and focus and discipline. And this is how we will, when we start focusing on actions and creating new habits, this is how we will put our energy into implementation.
And I think it's worth noting that it's more important that whatever habit you choose is something that happens. We're not trying for you to impress us with this incredible Herculean feat that you're going to add as a habit. I have I implemented a habit just like this maybe 10 years ago, and I still do it. And I never did it before. Uh, I make my bed every morning. It's a simple thing. It's not a big deal. It's kind of an old world custom. I don't know. I don't know if you always just made your bed every morning, but I didn't. The only time I made my bed was if my mom told me to clean my room and I needed her to inspect that it was clean. She would say the bed's not made, so I'd go make the bed. Or if company was coming over, I'd make the bed. But I didn't make the bed. Now I make it as a habit. When I wake up, before I leave, my bed is made. Takes a couple of minutes. Over time I got really good at it, really efficient and effective at making the bed. But I make my bed every morning. I can I can attribute a lot of successes in my life in the last 10 years in part to that one simple habit. It doesn't have to be something that's going to change the world. We're just trying to create a habit. And if you can successfully implement it, then you've told your subconscious mind, hey, I can successfully implement a new habit. You're not as intimidated by the next habit. Maybe the next habit is not making your bed, it's making sure your house is clean every day. Okay, some people, that's a big deal. If you make that your habit and your house has never been clean, you're gonna fail probably. That's gonna be a really hard thing. But if you start with the bed, then it's a room. Then it's a room. The room becomes the room in the kitchen, and then next
Your
thing you know,
house is always
your
clean,
house is always
and
clean.
when your
And
house is
when
clean,
your house is clean,
you will notice
your organization is
your
better.
organization is better.
You are freer
You
to
are
be
freer
creative.
to
You
be
are freer.
creative. You are
to
freer to
to accomplish things.
accomplish things, and
Your organization just
your organization
improves.
just improve.
But that's an example that
But that's an example that
I actually did.
I
And
actually
as a
did,
result
and
of
I
one of
did
the
as a
times I read
result
this
of
book.
one of the times I read
I
this book.
implemented a
I
habit.
implemented a habit, and
And
it
it
was
was
making my bed.
yes,
Yes, amazing, amazing example. And there is this saying, how you do something, you do everything.
true.
Yes.
Absolutely true.
Absolutely true. Yes, how you do small things, you will do big things, because this is the power of habit. This is the power of your attitude. What is your attitude to small things will be the same attitude to big things. So thank you so much for this example, and it really makes sense. And this is why I want our listeners to pick up one habit that they know that it will help them to be disciplined to do this, and start it from today. What will be one thing? Write it down as non-negotiable and do it today.
And share it.
And
Share it here. Share it in the
share it
group.
here,
Share
share
it
it
in
in
the
the group,
chat.
share it in the chat, share it,
And
and
take it a step further.
take it a step further.
Ask each other.
Ask
Did you
each
do
other,
it?
did
Did
you
you
do
do
it?
it? Did you do it?
If
If you've got a community
accountable,
holding you accountable, that makes your
that
success
makes your
much
success
more likely.
much more likely.
No matter what.
Yeah, promise to somebody, promise to community, or promise to your wife or husband or children that from today you are doing this, and if you're not, ask them to hold you accountable, and start from this first step, yeah, implementation, and then you will see how one step, like domino, will also cause other things to become in harmony with this one step.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But this is a big one.
This
I
is
don't
a
want to
big
say it's
one.
my favorite
I don't want to say it's my favorite
Elena,
chapter, Elena, but they're
it's-
all my favorite.
They're all my
But
favorite.
this one is
But
important.
this one is
This
important.
Is a big step.
This is a big step. It
It
highlights
acquiring
specialized knowledge.
specialized
But it also
knowledge.
lets you know
But it also lets
that
you
you don't have
know
to start
that
doing
you don't have to start doing that.
You've already been doing
You've already
that.
been
Just
doing
be aware
that.
of
Just
it.
be aware
Just
of
be conscious
it.
of
Just
it.
be conscious
Go
of
look.
it. What do
Go
you do
look.
all day?
What do you do all day?
Maybe your expertise
Maybe
is
your
playing a
expertise
video
is
game.
playing a video
Okay.
game.
Okay.
How is that experience?
How is that experience?
Specialized knowledge.
Specialized knowledge.
I'm sure
I don't
value your
value
ability
your
on a
ability on a
video game
video
as
game
much
as
as
much
my
as my
children
children
do.
do. But
My children could probably
my
tell
children
me
could probably tell me how to turn that into money.
You have specialized
You have
knowledge.
specialized knowledge.
Don't
You
think
just
of it that
don't
way.
think of it that way.
That's the importance of
That's
this
the
chapter.
importance of this
And
chapter.
If we're gonna achieve goals,
if we're gonna achieve
and that's
goals,
the whole point.
and that's
of
the whole
this,
point
is to
of
achieve
this
goals.
is to achieve goals.
You got to organize.
You got to
your knowledge.
organize
You
your
gotta
knowledge.
create a
You got to
plan.
create a
take
plan.
action.
You got to take action.
Yeah, so this week contemplate on those 20%, which what you do, which gets you 80% results. Contemplate on what you already know, because we're sure that you have so much already in you and you just don't even realize how powerful you are and how much you can know when you just start focusing on doing things. And number three is choose one habit which you want to start implementing every day starting from today. And we are looking forward to see you in our next chapter, which will be about imagination.
Yeah, which we spoiled a little bit with the introduction of the sixth sense, but you're gonna love it. It's my new favorite.
Yes, imagination can take you everywhere. And in the framework of this course, we want that imagination will take you to your goal. And we will speak about this next week.
Goodbye.